case arguing a Medicaid loophole could grant access to abortion clinics. The justices participated in oral arguments Wednesday on whether Medicaid recipients can sue in order to pick their preferred health care provider. The hearing stemming around a case where a Medicaid recipient sued to access services from a Planned Parenthood clinic in South Carolina, claiming that the controversial clinics are a, quote, qualified provider for the services that she needs. However, the state's governor, Henry McMaster, banned Planned Parenthood from providing services under Medicaid back in 2018, leading to a legal battle that is now landing at the steps of the Supreme Court. The last two operating Planned Parenthood facilities in South Carolina primarily served low-income communities with many patients who rely on Medicaid. We want to welcome the National Director of Priests for Life, Father Frank Pavone, to the show for more. Father, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure, Emily.
So I know that we were speaking a little bit during the break. You've been traveling all over the country preaching against abortion access. Now, you were in South Carolina last year. We know that they still have at least 140 clinics and pregnancy centers across the state, other than Planned Parenthood, other than clinics that operate, abortions, and they also accept Medicaid. So what is your take on this case? I mean, there are options for people in the state of South Carolina, right?
This is simply the abortion industry trying to survive. There are plenty of qualified providers in South Carolina. The Medicaid law says that a patient can choose any qualified provider. The state has the right to say whether a provider is qualified or not qualified. And I think South Carolina will win this because the Supreme Court, first of all, has never said that a state has to fund abortion. And secondly, especially with the Dobbs case, the Supreme Court has given more deference than ever to the policy a state wants to set regarding abortion and regarding the funding of abortion. So there's no reason for them not to win this case. I think it's important for the listeners to understand, too, some of the reasons why this Planned Parenthood should be disqualified. Listen, they're a criminal organization. And I say that having looked at this for 32 years. Look at, for example, childpredators.com. They skirt the laws that would require them to report sexual abuse or suspected sexual abuse. Look, for example, at babybodyparts.com. They sell baby body parts in contradiction to federal law. They commit malpractice. There was just an article in the New York Times talking about the untrained staff, the disqualification of expired medications, for example, expired medical equipment and so forth. All kinds of violations that we have found across the country with Planned Parenthood and other abortion clinics. And they specialize in abortion, in transgender surgery, and in electing Democrat candidates. They are a political operation. Why should they be getting $700+ million of our money every year? It should not be. And we've got to look carefully at what Planned Parenthood is doing. There's a major national effort now to defund Planned Parenthood, and I'm helping to lead that together with all the other pro-life groups.
Definitely, all led by the Trump administration. We know that they are backing South Carolina in this case. And frankly, this is what the Supreme Court had intended with overturning Roe v. Wade, to give the power back to the states to decide if they want to have abortion access. Father Frank Pavone, thank you so much for being with us. I wish we had more time to discuss with you. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks so much.
Now back with the second hour of American Sunrise in 2 minutes. Stick around.
Introducing the limited edition God Bless the USA Bible, inspired by Lee Greenwood's hit song and the most recognized patriotic anthem in America, God Bless the USA. The God Bless the USA large print leather-bound King James Bible also contains America's founding documents, the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance, along with a handwritten chorus to Lee Greenwood's song, God Bless the USA. With its large print and slim design, this Bible invites you to explore God's Word anywhere, anytime. The God Bless the USA Bible makes the perfect gift and cherished family heirloom keepsake to pass on to future generations. Designed for an easy reading experience in the trusted King James Version translation, this large print Bible is perfect to take to church, Bible study, work, and for traveling. Order yours today at GodBlessTheUSABible.com.
Coming up right now on this second hour of American Sunrise, President Trump's sweeping new tariffs are in effect this morning as the world financial markets are already reacting. We'll take you to the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange in about 30 minutes, plus a closer look at the effect of these new tariffs. That's coming up. And will Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's Hot Wheels comment about Texas Governor Greg Abbott land her in hot water? Ahead, the GOP congressman who wants her censured. And are major concerns ahead for the Republican Party and MAGA movement following Tuesday's loss in Wisconsin and the latest congressional divide involving proxy voting? Find out as American Sunrise Hour 2 starts now.
Good morning, America.
Welcome to American Sunrise.
Whether it's culture,
We have breaking news to share with you.
politics,
President Trump is joining us live now from Florida.
we've got you covered.
This is what it looks like to be a patriot.
We have to protect the American family.
The American dream is still alive.
I'm David Brody.
I'm Terrance.
And I'm Dr. Gina.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second hour of American Sunrise. I'm David Brody, coming to you from Washington, D.C. Let's bring in Allison Hans in West Palm. She's, of course, filling in for a vacationing Dr. G. T. Bates in our Denver newsroom as well. Good morning to both of you. Allison, we've got three T's going on: Trump, tariffs, trepidation, and, of course, the Dow futures. The Dow is set to open here in about 30 minutes or so. When we're watching those futures, the future right now doesn't look great, but we'll see how it plays out, Allison.
Yeah, there are nerves this morning, but once again, this is something that I believe has to be done. And really, it's someone mentioned it's an economic declaration of independence. And I think that that's how we really have to look at it. This is a patriotic move, and there may be some bumps along the way, but we have to do something for this country. And if you really think about, when you see some of those cities across this country that have just gone into disrepair and all of these jobs that have left the country, it is just unacceptable for this country, and we need to bring that back, and we need to support our fellow Americans, and we need to support this president.
Well, Allison, to your point, President Trump says the U.S. is in an economic emergency right now, and a base 10% tariff on imports from all countries is a first step in getting out of it. During his much anticipated reciprocal tariff announcement in the Rose Garden of the White House on Wednesday, the president also rolled out a 34% tax on imports from China and 20% on European Union imports, among others. Plus, he described the tariffs as kind tariffs, implying that the plan could have been much more aggressive.
If you want your tariff rate to be zero, then you build your product right here in America, because there is no tariff if you build your plant, your product in America. And we've seen companies coming in like we've never seen before. Likewise to all of the foreign presidents, prime ministers, kings, queens, ambassadors, and everyone else who will soon be calling to ask for exemptions from these tariffs. I say, terminate your own tariffs, drop your barriers, don't manipulate your currencies. They manipulate their currencies like nobody can even believe.
Apart from leveling the trading playing field, President Trump says the goal of these latest taxes is to boost domestic manufacturing and foreign investment in the United States. He claims that work has already begun on plants around the country, including a $61 billion plant. The president says an announcement about that is going to come here in the next couple of days. Meantime, New York Mayor Eric Adams has a new lease on life this morning, figuratively speaking, of course. Not only did he see the corruption case against him dismissed on Wednesday, he now also believes that he'll win re-election. However, the judge calls the Justice Department's rationale for wanting the charges against Adams thrown out troubling, saying that, quote, everything here smacks of a bargain, dismissal of the indictment in exchange for immigration policy concessions, question mark. However, the judge went on to dismiss the case without prejudice, meaning the charges can't be brought again after Adams leaves office. And while the Justice Department describes the Adams case as an example of political weaponization and a waste of resources, Adams himself claims, quote, "I have always been solely beholden to the people of this city." He, of course, is talking about the people of New York City. Here's a question for you. Could Amazon be adding TikTok to its portfolio? Well, a Trump administration official says the online retailer put in a bid to buy the Chinese-owned social media site before it's banned. TikTok is set to go dark in the United States the day after tomorrow, which is Saturday, unless its Chinese owner ByteDance sells to an approved buyer. President Trump also has the authority to extend the current pause on the app's ban. It's still unclear if ByteDance plans to actually sell TikTok, but a number of potential bidders have come forward over the last several months showing interest in the app. At issue are concerns that TikTok's Chinese ownership poses a national security threat due to China's access to the personal information of millions of U.S. users. That's a quick check of your headlines. Now, let's get you over to David.
Thank you, T. Appreciate it. Of course, Liberation Day is come and gone. Now we wait to see how this all unfolds. President Trump's long-awaited reciprocal tariffs are official. We have the official Rose Garden event and all of that. Here is what Trump imposed, I should say. We've been putting up this graphic all morning. Here you go. 10% tariff on all U.S. imports from foreign countries. Also a 25% tariff on all foreign-made automobiles. That was technically introduced last week. Reciprocal tariffs, there's the list. More than 60 countries. You've got China, 34%. By the way, it's more than that. It's 20% additional to that because of what was already in place. Anyhow, don't want to get into all of the numbers here, but EU is at 20%, Japan 24%, India 26%, Vietnam 46%, Taiwan 32%, South Korea 25%, Jordan 20%, Israel actually 17%, New Jersey coming in at 8%. No, just kidding. All right, here's the president from the Rose Garden. Have a look.
This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, in American history. It's our declaration of economic independence. For years, hardworking American citizens were forced to sit on the sidelines as other nations got rich and powerful, much of it at our expense. But now it's our turn to prosper, and in so doing, use trillions and trillions of dollars to reduce our taxes and pay down our national debt, and it'll all happen very quickly.
And joining us now is Congressman Randy Weber of Texas. Congressman, thanks for being here. Well, your reaction to the new tariffs. It seems like the Republicans are staying strong on this. I guess we'll see what short-term pain looks like. How do you see all of this? And good morning to you.
Well, good morning, Joe. Thanks for having me. Look, I'm going to add a phrase here. I think it's fantastic. You remember the Boston Tea Party. I'm going to call this the awesome Tea Party, as in tariffs. We are getting tariffs independence, and you could say T stands for Trump. He is making changes. It's about time that countries who took advantage of a trade with us paid reciprocal tariffs so that we could get their products when needed, if we won't choose to buy from them, without a tariff. The playing field has been unlevel for way too long.
Congressman, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the fact that you're pretty upset about Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's Governor Hot Wheels comment there. She, of course, was talking about the governor of your state, Greg Abbott. She's one of your colleagues there from your state. Last week, you introduced a resolution to censure the Texas representative. That's probably on hold now since Speaker Johnson has sent you and your colleagues home. So what's the latest on your censure resolution? And then point B, I guess, is because you are now probably in your home district, your thoughts on this whole proxy issue and what appears from the outside looking in to be a divide right now within the Republican caucus. Do you see a divide?
Well, let's talk about her first. Her comments were unwarranted, unnecessary, and just downright rude. And look, it's unbecoming of the conduct of a member of Congress. We have rules. We have rules in the House of how we're supposed to speak to each other and talk to each other. I realize Governor Abbott's not in the House, but he is a very fine figure in Texas. And what she said was is unbelievable. Look, when I was growing up, David, if I'd said something wrong or bad, my mother washed my mouth out with soap. And apparently, she never got her mouth washed out with soap. Maybe they couldn't find a bar big enough. I don't know. But there was I mean, she should be called to task. And so we're building momentum. You know, people understand that. Look, and she's from Texas, for Pete's sakes. And she says that about our Texas governor, and then she tries to backtrack. No. She needs to be taken to task for this, and hopefully we'll do that.
So, Representative, what happens when someone's censored?
Well, Allison, as you know, they go down in the well, and they're called to task. There's only been about 6 people who've actually been expelled from Congress over the last couple hundred years. I think it's 26 or so. I forget the exact count for those who are censored. She'll be taken up front. Now, you remember when Al Green was censored, Democrats all surrounded him, started singing. There was about, I think, 6 Democrats who voted with us, because this is conduct unbecoming of a member of the United States House of Representatives. It's really a slap on the hand, but it is her colleagues recognizing, look, we are not going to tolerate this kind of conduct. And that's what she needs to understand.
Well, if anybody gets around here and starts singing, that is disgusting and absurd. David.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Sure. Congressman, just a quick follow-up. I know Terrance had earlier asked about the proxy voting situation. What is the latest on that? Because I know 96% or so of the Republicans were not with those 9 Republicans, but still, it shut down business in the House.
Thank you.
Well, it was a shock. I mean, it was a shock to leadership, as near as I understand. We didn't like proxy voting when Nancy Pelosi instituted it, even during COVID. They had members of Congress, as you probably recall, calling in from yachts. There was some of them in Italy on vacation. This was meant, back then, proxy was meant to be, look, if you don't want to come around, you don't want to get around COVID and that kind of stuff, understandable, call your vote in from, your house or wherever. And I get Anna Linda Paulina's theory there for the proxy voting and her friends supporting her. But this isn't the will of the House. And the fact that they took down a rule made it really tough on the rest of us.
Actually, that's a really great point. Congressman Randy Weber, great to have you with us. Love to get you back. Maybe we can move the show to later in the afternoon, so we're getting you up early. We apologize for that.
Can you order me some brisket? I want some Texas brisket. Can you order me some Texas brisket, Congressman?
Yes, sir. We can sure enough do that. You betcha.
All right. Brisket on the menu next time. Congressman, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks so for what y'all do. You bet.
All right. Great stuff. I want his accent. Instead, I got water and order, and I'm from New York. Coming up every day on American Sunrise, we attempt to drain the D.C. swamp. But in the case of Hunter Biden, we continue to keep flushing him down the toilet, and yet he still floats back to the top. We have new information on the former first son's latest legal woes. That's ahead. Also, President Trump kept his promise to auto workers, but will his new auto tariffs break their bond? We will talk about that in moments. We're back on a Thursday in a moment.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm American Sunrise correspondent Emily Finn. It is great to have you with us this morning. Time now to drain the swamp. And this morning, we're flushing out for the umpteenth time Hunter Biden. Hunter is the swamp monster who keeps floating back to the top of the bowl. Check out this headline from the New York Post. Convicted felon Hunter Biden to be permanently stripped of his D.C. license to practice law. The former first son and convicted felon graduated Yale Law School in 1996 and then passed the D.C. bar in 2007. Hunter had his license suspended in June of last year, 2 weeks after a Delaware court convicted him at his gun trial. He later pled guilty to 9 charges, 3 felonies, and 6 misdemeanors, stemming from his evasion of $1.4 million in taxes. Let's bring in Terrance, David, and Allison to discuss. Allison, ladies first on this one. Joe Biden issued his disgraced son a full and unconditional pardon last December, though Joe promised that he wouldn't do this, for Hunter. Do you think Americans should have any sympathy for Hunter now that he's lost his license to practice law? I mean, I like how our producers wrote that about how he's the swamp monster that keeps coming to the top of the bowl. I am sick of hearing about this guy, Allison.
The question that I have is who in their right mind is going to hire Hunter Biden as their attorney? Please. I mean, that is that would not be my choice. I rather head out to law schools and get advice from students. No, I have no sympathy. What has gone on is unfair. It's disgusting. We all know what took place, and any pardon is not going to excuse his behavior.
Yeah, I don't think sympathy and Hunter Biden, I don't think go in the same sentence at this point. Having said that, I would like to flush not only Hunter Biden, but also all of his artwork, Emily, number one. And also, beyond the artwork, I think, thank you for flushing the artwork. In the meantime, can we also flush the B-roll? Can we flush the VO of him in the bathtub? I mean, if I see that again, Terrance, thank you. One last time, and the gun by the hip, so to say, oh, God, oh, please. See, now I'm scarred. And then again, Terrance, I've been scarred for a while when I see that stuff. I know. You have too.
Well, since we're flushing, David, can we flush the cocaine that he used? Again, he admitted this. I'm not making it up. Let's flush the cocaine. Flush all of that. Emily, when you were entering... I'm sorry?
The Parmesan cheese that he used. Remember that story that he was trying to smoke Parmesan cheese? I mean, my God.
Right. Like, the guy is just off. Emily, when you were introing the story, I probably had the worst poker face ever. It was something like, pardon? Should we forget? Child, please, as my daughter tells me often, have a seat. Please have several seats. And that's what I would say for Hunter Biden. Have several seats, sir, and please step away from the crack cocaine.
Yeah.
Step away.
Absolutely. Time to be done with your art, be done with the drugs, be done with Burisma. This guy was quite the train wreck.
Yeah.
All right, you guys.
And probably remains quite the train wreck. And again, seriously, not to belittle anyone, hopefully he truly has recovered and he's off the drugs and all of that and can begin to lead a better life. I truly hope for that for him. I pray for that for him. But the reality is your time in public life in particular should be over. And the things that you have done and have gotten away with, thanks to your father, Hunter Biden, I don't think there are many people who have sympathy for that, particularly since we know that you've taken advantage of the system. Again, this isn't me surmising. That's fact. I think everyone sees that.
I think that's a beautiful
and the gravy train.
Generous
the gravy train
way
is over
to
too.
put it. Yeah.
All right, you guys.
All right, I'm done,
flushing
Emily.
out
Sorry.
Hunter Biden. Coming up on American Sunrise, Trump kept his promise to America's auto workers. But will tariffs create new jobs for them? We're headed to the heartland for the answer. Stay with us.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going to take you to the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange here in about 8 minutes. I can tell you pre-market trading in the futures not looking very good right now. Let's just put up the board. A whole lot of red, and we're talking about the markets being down pretty significantly. Look at that. The Dow down over 3%, as is the S&P 500. The NASDAQ, that's the tech-heavy index, it's down well over 4.5%. Gold, silver, crude oil, all down as well. A lot of this very likely due to uncertainty over President Trump's tariffs. We'll be talking about it more throughout the morning, and we'll get you to the opening bell here in just a few minutes. Hopefully, there will be a significant change over the next several minutes as we get ready for the official opening at the New York Stock Exchange. In the meantime, let's get you over to Allison. Allison, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Terrance. Well, President Donald Trump has kept his word to U.S. auto workers by imposing steep tariffs on foreign cars so more people buy American. Auto Workers for Trump founder Brian Pennebecker says Trump is delivering on his promise to bring back manufacturing superiority. Watch this.
I have watched my entire life. I have watched plant after plant after plant in Detroit and in the Metro Detroit area close. There are now plants sitting idle. There are now plants that are underutilized, and Donald Trump's policies are going to bring product back into those underutilized plants. There's going to be new investment. There's going to be new plants built. And the UAW members, and I brought 20 of them with me, they're sitting right over here. We support Donald Trump's policies on tariffs 100%.
And joining us now is the man you just saw, Brian Pennebecker. Welcome, Brian. How are you today?
Good. Good morning, guys. Quite a day.
Oh,
yeah, I flew in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I didn't get that invitation until last Friday, and the person that called me at the White House said the president wants to know if you can bring 20 UAW members to Washington, D.C. next Wednesday for his tariff announcement. And I said, wow, 20 people. It's Friday afternoon. I don't know if I can round up 20 auto workers that can take a day off, make flight reservations to Washington, D.C., get a hotel room. I said, let me see what I can do. But as I started calling guys, I was amazed. They were like, I wouldn't miss this for my life. One guy was on a cruise. He wasn't supposed to get back until Monday. He said, I'll helicopter off to this ship if I have to, but I'm coming to this ceremony. So that's how enthused they are about it.
Oh, that is so cool. So yesterday you're sitting in the Rose Garden. Now, did you know that he was going to call you up?
Well, here's what happened. They when my group came in, the contact I have in the White House came over and got me, and she said, there's a chance the president might call you up on stage, so we'd like you to sit at the end of the aisle just in case. And she said, if he does, you go, you walk up here and go up these steps. So I was kind of warned ahead of time. I thought it might happen. The president was looking at his teleprompter, which was in my direction, and I think he could see me, past the teleprompter. So I was kind of following his conversation, trying to stay up on, the thread of his talk. So if he did call me up, I could make some remarks that were sort of pertinent to what he was saying.
Well, you were totally smooth when you went up there, but I do have to ask, was your heart beating a little bit when, you didn't know if you were going to go up there and then he called you? Because you were fantastic.
Well, thank you. My heart was not beating faster, but I'll tell you when it was. The day before, they had asked me if I would be willing to lead the group in the Pledge of Allegiance. And when they asked me that, I thought, oh, crap, Kamala Harris messed that up and she'll never live it down. So I thought about it for a second and I said, yeah, of course I'll do it. So that was the only time I got a little nervous. But then they changed the program around a little bit and they said, we have taken the Pledge of Allegiance out of the ceremony. So we don't need you to do that anymore.
Okay, so that's good. One last question. I was talking about this earlier today. I think it's so important for us to rejuvenate these cities that have gone into disrepair across this country. It's so important. I think it's so important for just Americans in general. Is that how you see what this move is?
Absolutely. This is all about bringing jobs back into the United States. Detroit is a classic example of what you're talking about. It's a shell of what it used to be in the late 50s and early 60s. So plants can be, old plants that have fallen, been left idle and fallen into disrepair. They're abandoned buildings now, some of them can be knocked down, the site can be prepared, and a new plant can be built in 1 year. So there can be rejuvenation, and that's what Trump is going for. He doesn't really care so much if it's Japanese companies, South Korean companies, or European companies like BMW or some of the other automakers. He wants plants to be built in the United States so American workers can do those jobs, and that's what he's after. So there's going to be a little disruption here. There may be a slight increase in cost over the next few months, but in the long term, years down the road, 3 or 4 years from now, we're going to see new plants going up in 3 or 4 different states, and Michigan in particular. So,
well, Brian, you are a true patriot. Thank you so much, and you did a fabulous job yesterday. So excited for the future. Thank you.
Trump.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let's head back to Terrance in Denver for the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange, sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
The bell is going to ring there at the New York Stock Exchange in about 20 seconds or so. I can tell you that the markets are reacting to President Trump's tariffs right now. All of the major indices, the Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ down pretty significantly. We're talking down about 3%. In the case of the NASDAQ, it's down over 4%. That's major. That is major. But again, short-term pain for long-term gain. And that is the hope, particularly for investors who are going to be investing on Wall Street. The applause is underway right now, and so momentarily we are going to hear the bell ringing, and then the markets will officially be open, and of course we'll let you know how things are looking then. Wow, it's not often that you see the sort of drop that we've seen here on the markets, but again, it's simply because of uncertainty. The markets tend to respond to big news like what we just had yesterday. So now the markets are officially open, and let's see if we can't pull up our board, to see how things are looking. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Dow down over 3%, the S&P 500 down almost 4%, but well over 3%, and the NASDAQ down over 4.5% right now. Gold, silver, and crude oil also down. Crude oil is down over 7%. That's pretty significant. Silver also down over 7%. So hopefully all of this will turn around here rather quickly, particularly for those of you who are investing in the markets. Still to come here on American Sunrise, after Joe Biden exited the 2024 presidential race, why did Barack Obama have no no confidence in Kamala Harris. Well, we've got the details on the Dems' behind-the-scenes election chaos. Also, is 2026 looking scary for MAGA? After a crushing blow in Wisconsin and a narrow victory in Florida, is trouble brewing? We've got the details on that next here on American Sunrise.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm Allison Hans in for Dr. Gina. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. We invite you to join the conversation on Getter and Rumble. Time now to take the political pulse of America. And the beat today, how former President Barack Obama basically backstabbed Kamala Harris after old Joe Biden exited to the 2024 presidential race. Reporter and author Jonathan Allen said after Biden left the race, Obama sought out an open primary because he didn't believe Harris could win and ultimately beat President Donald Trump. Allen wrote a book about it titled Fight: Inside the Wildest Battle for the White House. Take a look.
President Obama absolutely did not think that Joe Biden should continue, according to our sources, close to President Obama. And he also didn't want Kamala Harris to be the replacement for Biden. He didn't think that she was the best choice for Democrats. And he worked really behind the scenes for a long time to try to have a mini primary or an open convention or a mini primary leading to an open convention. Did not have faith in her ability to win the election.
Let's bring in Bobby Eberle, Republican strategist and the host of the 13-Minute News Hour. Good morning, Bobby. How you doing?
Good morning, Allison and crew. I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here.
Good to see you. Well, according to reports, things became so toxic that Obama apparently did not want to endorse Harris for president on the day Biden dropped out. Now, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I could tell based on the phone calls and the body language that this was not happening. What's your take?
Well, I am a rocket scientist, so I can comment on this. But no,
and I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night.
Right, yeah, exactly. So no, but this has got such intrigue because, I mean, for decades now, I mean, Obama really didn't like Biden, and everyone has talked about that. And so I think, Biden has this axe to grind being forced out. And I think, remember, the day he exited right away he endorsed Kamala Harris. And I think that was a stick to Obama and to Pelosi and all of them, saying, hey, I'm basically anointing the one. You guys try and deal with it now. And that threw Obama for a loop. And again, he's got good political instincts. And he has that sense that Biden couldn't win, Harris couldn't win, but the machinery was in place. And with that Biden endorsement, it kind of, 5 days later, Obama, Barack, and Michelle were endorsing Harris because, the hand was forced. But I can see him definitely working behind the scenes because the writing was on the wall that she wasn't going to do it. The momentum was with Trump. I mean, the media tried to do this 90-day coronation, but it was all futile, and Obama saw it. So this type of intrigue, I really love it. And I could believe it that he was working to get that primary, to get someone else, not only so they could win, but so he could be kingmaker, not Biden. Not Biden anointing this successor. It should be Obama. That's what he's thinking, that he should be the one picking and pulling the strings and everything. And it was totally taken out from under him.
Interesting perspective. I had never thought of it from that perspective. I want to change gears a little bit and talk about the losses that Republicans took in Wisconsin on Tuesday. They were, however, some wins in Florida, even though they were by narrower margins, I think, than most Republicans are comfortable with. So I'm curious, looking forward, if there's anything that we should read into what happened on Tuesday, both in Wisconsin as well as in Florida. And more importantly, is it a reflection of issues and candidates or a reflection of national policy? Your thoughts?
I think, wow, Terrance, I think it's a combination of a lot of that. I mean, if we start with Florida first, I mean, one of the things that you got to look at is these special elections are never going to get the excitement that other elections do. And the Democrats, whether they are just, vacuous on policy and have been totally rejected, they will still rally, they will still turn out. The other thing we have to keep in mind is these weren't incumbents. And so they're not going to win by as big of margins, regardless of the state of the district. Fine has been criticized a lot, especially by DeSantis. And so they weren't people to just really rally around in that respect. But I think mostly it is just the lull of a special election and the fact that these weren't incumbents. And we got our seats. We got our 220 now to 213, I believe. And so that really helps us. Moving into Wisconsin, the thing that frustrates me more than anything, yes, we wanted to take back that court, but it was basically the court, the liberals holding serve. They had a 4-3 majority. They kept the 4-3 majority, but it was just stunning. What is so frustrating is these same voters that elected this liberal also overwhelmingly voted for voter ID. So where is that most likely going to be challenged or possibly overturned? In the courts. They want this so bad. They want fairness in the election, yet they elect liberals that could interfere with the election with these funky rulings that don't follow the state or national constitution. So that one is very, very frustrating to me. But again, as far as the Republican turnout, I think we had such joy in November. And we're Republicans, we're conservatives, right? We get involved in government so that we can get people in place and move on with our lives. And Democrats are always looking toward that next election. They never stop. They're like zombies. And we always have to keep at it and get that turnout.
Bobby, are you like me? I mean, one of my pet peeves is how we try to, we here don't, but the liberal media loves to draw these sweeping national conclusions from special elections. It drives me up a wall. I mean, as you pointed out, special elections are not general elections. They're not even midterm elections. You're going to get low turnout. And yet, all of a sudden, we want to talk about these as like, this is a warning sign, a direction of the party. Watch out. I mean, does it frustrate you as well? I mean, because what happens is that you got this gang of 500, right? The Amtrak corridor, the liberal media that love to set narratives like this.
Yeah, exactly. And you're absolutely right. I mean, in my county, just now in this presidential election, we had 100,000 more people vote in this election than the midterms. And then you go down to city council races, school board races, those drop to, just several thousand people going. And then you're talking about, these special elections. So, yeah, the turnout was good in Wisconsin for that one. But, it's still, you can't draw any kind of national mood or national comparison or trends based on these snapshots. Again, it's like these are districts in the case of Florida. So the personality of that representative plays a big role. And again, I think just with the fact that they're non-incumbents and it's a special election, you just cannot listen to the media as far as drawing these sweeping trends. And I caution, Republicans to do the same and not get on board if one of our guys wins and it's a surprise. Right. That could make a trend. But again, let's look at the bigger picture. What's happening state by state by state? And then, like we saw in the national election, that was a clear mandate. You can't really draw a lot from these.
Yeah, good way to look at it. Well, Bobby, I want to take a look at what the future of abortion access will look like in the U.S. The U.S. Supreme Court justices listened to arguments yesterday about the battle over taxpayer funding for Planned Parenthood, specifically in South Carolina. Now, there's a dispute happening there because the state excludes Planned Parenthood from the state's Medicaid program because they provide abortions. Bobby, how do you think SCOTUS will decide?
Well, you know what? Unfortunately, this is a tough one. I'd like to say this is an easy decision. I don't think any taxpayer money should be used on abortion at all. I'd like to see 100% abortions, eliminated. But the arguments here go back and forth. Samuel Alito basically said that this would be a federal issue. The only ones who could, sue a state over Medicare or Medicaid is the federal government. So coming up from the grassroots up is not really appropriate. But then you've got Robertson and Barrett. I'm just not really sure. But there's no way you should be able to force these providers to pay for abortion services or these clinics that don't provide health care. They provide abortion services. So I hope it rules in this favor. And if it doesn't, then we need to address the law, because that's what I want. I don't want an activist judge on either side. I want the law to be clear and them to apply the law. And I hope it breaks for our favor. But man, with this balance of this court, it's just really hard to say.
Bobby, I don't know if you're trying to send me subliminal messages by standing or sitting in front of the or having a backdrop of the U.S. Capitol, but I'm going to go there. Let's talk about proxy voting. It's kind of been an Achilles heel for Republicans this week as Speaker Johnson pretty much sent everybody home following his loss, if you will, on that resolution on proxy voting. Your position on proxy voting, first and foremost, and secondly, the way things are coming down, are you concerned at all about leadership within the House, or even kind of how things are going, the fact that there doesn't seem to be, for lack of a better word, any consistency right now or any cohesion? Right. And maybe that's, you get where I'm going. I don't want to read too much into it. I'd love to get your thoughts, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay, I'm against proxy voting. I didn't like it when they were implementing it in COVID. The Constitution says you need a quorum, you need to be there. And I think it's what we're paying our reps to do. I mean, maybe if you have small children, maybe the job for you, whether it's husband or wife, is back at home in your district, building a business or working and raising that family, and then go off to Washington after these life experiences. That's personally me. I mean, I've started in politics later. But as far as the leadership, I would say it's more of a messaging issue where we're almost trying to shoot ourselves in the foot. The Democrats won't debate on issues, right? They're attacking Elon Musk, who's, trying to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, and now he's the Antichrist. So we don't want to give them ammunition to just find an issue and say, look at these Republicans, they're all divisive, or put something up. And it seems like we're just hurting ourselves when our message should be cleaning up the government, ending these regulations, supporting the America First Trump agenda. And to me, this is just needless stirring up the media to say, look at those Republicans. I think the leadership will stay in place. But as a messaging and strategy guy, I just wish we'd stay focused on the big issues and taking on the Democrats on policy.
Bobby Eberle, thank you so much for coming in this morning. You're always terrific. We appreciate you.
Thanks a lot. Love you guys.
Have a good one.
Appreciate you, Bobby.
Coming up, has Elon Musk become a political liability to President Donald Trump? And is it time for him to step back from his role? We'll discuss in the hot D.C. discussion du jour. Also ahead, imagine being so smart you scored higher than Albert Einstein on an IQ test with no exam prep. Oh, and you're only 13 years old. Sounds crazy, but it's actually true. That story and so much more as American Sunrise continues. We'll be right back.
Let's spill some tea.
All right, let's spill some tea, sponsored by Artillery Tea Company, artilleryteacompany.com. Make sure to go to their website and use the promo code America's Tea for 25% off your first order. Artillery Tea is all natural, whole leaf, and the tea bags are chemical free, and each tea bag can be used twice. Artillery Tea Company is family and veteran owned and operated, and a portion of your purchase goes to help veteran and first responder charities. Make sure to go to artilleryteaco.com and use the promo code America's Tea for 25% off your first order. It is time now to spill some tea, and in the cup today, Elon Musk and President Trump and the administration are a little bit on edge. The headline, Trump tells inner circles that Musk will leave soon. The article goes on to say that the president is pleased with Musk, but the decision comes as the tech mogul increasingly looks like a political liability. Let's bring in Allison, Terrance, and David for more on this. I mean, I don't know about this, you guys. I'm pretty impressed with what he's been doing with Doge. I think Elon has been taking on a pretty significant role in this administration. David, let's start with you here. What's your take?
Look, here's the deal, Allison, Emily. A couple things. First of all, let's do the disclaimer. Elon Musk's doing a great job. Okay, he's working at cutting stuff and a lot of money. That's great. Okay, here's the rest of the story. Yes, he's a political liability. There's no doubt about that. And listen, I said this a couple of months ago. Cue up the tape. Let's find the tape. Where's the tape? It's somewhere around there. I can't believe I said tape like it's 1982. But the truth of the matter is that I said a couple of months ago that I thought that Elon Musk would eventually wear out his welcome. And that's exactly what's happening. Has it happened faster than I thought? Absolutely. Why is that exactly? Because I'm from the deep state and I know that power is everything. And these cabinet secretaries and folks that work under them are not too happy, let's be honest, with Elon Musk grabbing the spotlight and doing his thing. Now, you might say, well, who cares about who gets the credit, who gets the spotlight? But the truth of the matter is that this thing was not organized correctly. It just wasn't. Elon Musk came in and just said, this is what we're going to do. And he's posting on X and his team is doing his thing, which, by the way, to be clear, here's the disclaimer. So don't go crazy in the chat on me. I agree with what he's doing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the substance. But I'm saying the way it rolled out is that you have a process within the White House and within this administration, and you've got to be able to see that process through. And when you weren't sure if it was Elon Musk making the call, was it cabinet secretaries, what was going on? He was going right to Trump, going to Susie Wiles. You weren't quite sure what was going on, and I think it just was rolled out ineffectively from a PR standpoint, from a process standpoint. So you're going to get some grumbling. And Terrance, the way I see it is that grumbling is leading to some of this. Once again, to be clear, love what he's doing, but the grumbling is there. That is not made up. Now, will the media take that and make it this big whole deal? Sure. They're making it bigger than it is, but it's there. I don't think we should question that it's not there. It is. It is.
It's interesting. Grumbling is the word you used, and you say it is there, because I would say, having covered, some of these meetings, even from afar, but I'm listening publicly. It seems that many of these secretaries are on board, saying that, they agree with what Elon Musk is doing. Again, that's the public face, and maybe that's what you have to do. Publicly, you don't want to go against your boss or the guy who is in the good graces of your boss. But it seems to me, again, publicly, that the cabinet secretaries are on board. And kind of relative to all of this, there's a lot of reporting that's going around. And this is a tweet from Caroline Leavitt yesterday, which basically was talking about Elon Musk potentially leaving sooner than later. She says this scoop is garbage, basically saying that he's going to finish out his term and that he and President Trump have agreed that Elon Musk will stay on until the job is done. Now, all of this, I think you have to take into perspective, because literally just last week or the week before, Elon Musk himself was on Fox News saying that he's going to finish the job and he expects to be done like in early May, that by then he will have saved about $1 trillion. And all of that, of course, kind of was in response to a question about, whether he would see the entire 130 or 150 days. I can never remember the number. I apologize. But basically, when he was brought into the government to head up Doge, it was under the auspices of this 130-day term or 150-day term. And he basically was saying that he'll finish out that term. And by that time, he expects to have saved or cut about $1 trillion. Allison.
Well, I'm going to push back on David a little bit. I don't think he's a political liability. I think that among the American public, people absolutely love what he's doing and support him. And I think that it's not just going to be his face. If he does step back, he will step back. But I think we're going to see some of those Doge team members step up and start being spokespeople. And I think that's going to be really powerful as well.
Yeah, I think
he needs to do things more behind the scenes. The distraction is that it's too public, it's too much, and the cabinet secretaries have to be the ones making these decisions publicly, not just Elon Musk saying what he wants to say.
I understand.
Right. Yeah, I think behind the scenes is the key with that, David. And I'm sure that this is not the last that we'll be hearing of Elon from that kind of capacity. We still do have a lot more to come on American Sunrise. At 13, most girls are still playing with dolls. In a moment, meet a teen who just blew past Albert Einstein's IQ score. Wow, an amazing story you don't want to miss. It's coming up next on American Sunrise.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm Allison Hans. Thanks so much for joining us today. Time now for the sunny side up and in the pan today. A 13-year-old girl is showing signs of becoming a genius after scoring higher than Albert Einstein and Stephen Hawking on an IQ test. Sophia Cote Arcuri is being invited to join the Mensa High IQ Society for her perfect 162 score on their exam, the highest mark possible for a young woman her age. Mensa has been around for more than 100 years and recognizes extremely gifted minds who score in the top 98th percentile on properly administered and supervised IQ tests. Sophia's mother says her daughter is so focused on her schoolwork, she had minimal time to prepare for her Mensa test and didn't take any practice exams beforehand. Watch the moment she opened her test results with her mom.
Hey. Tell me. Tell me, what does it say? Tell me.
You can tell it's good because I got these. I'll tell you what this is.
Read it.
Dear Sophia, your Mensa IQ test has been marked, and I'm delighted to inform you that your results are CATEL 3B scale, 162, with the top 1%.
Have you been invited?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Sophia, I can't believe this.
Wow. Unreal.
Yeah,
Sophia's mother says despite her daughter's high intelligence, she's not geeky at all. She has a bubbly personality and is loved by everyone. She was so nonchalant about that. That is absolutely phenomenal. I just love that story.
I don't know about